Good, you're back. I'm Neom, and today's episode is about the Chevalier de Bayard. Please leave a like. The word of the day is accubation, the act of eating whilst reclining or laying down. But enough of that, let's get into it. You've heard of many knights who are described as good by historians, museum plaques, and overly extroverted people you've never met before. King Arthur, Richard the Lionheart, but perhaps you've never heard of Pierre Terrail, one of the goodest and knightliest knights that was ever knighted. Pierre Terrail was born in the Chateau de Bayard in the French Alps in 1473. His ties to the nobility secured him a position as a page to Duke Charles I of Savoy. From a young age, he was known to be charming, handsome, and skilled with horses, the latter of which caught the eye of one Louis de Luxembourg, who made him a man-at-arms. His reputation grew such that he entered into a prestigious tournament against many other seasoned knights, which King Charles VIII himself was attending. His unlikely triumph over the other contestants prompted King Charles VIII to bring the 21-year-old into his service. In 1494, Pierre accompanied King Charles to Italy, where he would fight in the Battle of Fornovo. France was winning handily, and when the Italian forces finally fled, Terrail was hot on their tail. He was captured by the enemy army, but was so cooperative that they soon let him go without ransom. After his display of courage and competence, he was officially knighted, becoming the Chevalier de Bayard. Chevalier being the French and presumably more wine-savvy version of a knight. But this was just the beginning of his exploits. In the Battle of Garigliano, Pierre Terrail solely defended a bridge from over 200 enemies so that his fellow soldiers could retreat to safety. The Chevalier de Bayard was known by all to be a fierce and fearless warrior, always leading the charge and defeating more enemies than anyone. But during all of this, he was said to be chivalrous, kind, and compassionate. As a commander, he would ensure that portions of his troops were guarding the churches and monasteries where women and children would refuge during battles. Upon defeating an enemy, he would make sure that no fire was left burning, no injured enemy was left untended to. He was so loved and respected that even Italian citizens would welcome him into their city, sometimes even showering him with gifts, knowing that even though he came as a conqueror, they would be respected, well taken care of, and looked after. Something that could not be said of the occupying Spanish forces. His courage and fierce fighting abilities, together with his immense compassion and kindness, earned him the title the Knight Without Fear and Beyond Reproach, a name that even his enemies couldn't find fault with. In 1502, Terrail intervened in the capture of a Spanish knight by the name of Alonso de Sotomayor, so that the man would not be treated unjustly. The Chevalier de Bayard took the captured knight into his own home and nursed him back to health. But when he let the man go, Sotomayor began spreading false stories about Terrail, claiming that he had been treated cruelly by the good and blameless knight. The Chevalier de Bayard was so determined to clear his name that even while in the throes of malaria, he challenged Sotomayor to a duel to the death. On the day of the duel, Terrail, feverish and tired, was forced to wait for hours in the heat of the day, fully clad in armor, while his adversary delayed, hoping that Terrail would be too tired by the time the fight began. But the Chevalier de Bayard knelt on the ground in prayer, waited patiently for Sotomayor to arrive. Finally, he did, and the duel began. Sotomayor struck overhead blow after overhead blow, but despite his frailty, fever, and pure exhaustion, Pierre Terrail still won the battle when he jammed his dagger to the hilt into the eye of his enemy. There was an immediate and tumultuous cacophony of cheers and celebration from the onlookers, but Terrail instantly silenced the crowd, refusing to revel in the Spaniard's death, and instead went to a nearby church to pray for the man's soul. Years later, after the Battle of Marignano, Terrail approached King Francis I to receive his honors, only to have the king kneel before him and ask that Terrail knight him instead. Pierre's life finally ended in 1524 when he was shot by an early version of a musket. As he was dying, he requested that he be leaned against a tree so that even in death, he wouldn't show his back to an enemy. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Subscribe for more content, ring the bell to be notified about new videos, and comment what you want to learn about next. I'm Neom, and I'll see you next time.